it's one thing to see it passing in the news or something like that, and it's another to have the person that has carried so much trauma, has gone through so many things, to sit in front of you and dig deep into their soul and just tell you their story.
Yeah.
I think that's why your channel does so well, because
you get to actually, it's almost like you get to meet the person.
You get to meet the person.
You get to know them.
You know? And I mean, that's why I enjoy your channel, because for me, I identified with a lot of things.
I've been doing less of the drug stories lately. Do you find that less interesting?
I find it interesting across the board, because you're bringing people that I never even knew.
Yeah, see,
it's very diverse.
I like the diversity.
Right.
But I do see that my views have kind of, maybe it's because summertime or whatever, but YouTube always kind of recommends me, and I take a peek, and then they stop, and it takes a dip. And it goes back and forth. It's always
so in summertime, people's not sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah, they're not watching YouTube as much.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus once winter hits, October, then it climbs up.
Yeah. It always goes up and down. So
yeah, for sure.
I don't worry about it. I just kind of do what I like to do, and what I like to do is, I'd like to do like a truck driver, just a guy who's a truck driver, not necessarily has the most traumatic story in the world, but just an interesting truck driver from fucking nowhere.
Right. Exactly.
You know? I would love that, and to do a housewife, and to do a drug addict and a prostitute, and the mixed bag of everything I do. I find that interesting, but I understand you lose a lot of the audience when you stop doing the drug addicts.
But the thing with you never did this for the audience.
Yeah.
So
no, people think, oh, he's doing this for the views. He's bringing back Rebecca for the views. I'm not bringing back Rebecca for anything other than I think Rebecca's cool.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Right.
Crazy as a hoot owl, but cool as fuck.
Exactly.
And funny. So
right.
So what have you been doing? What have you been up to?
I've been staying sober.
Good for you. You look healthy as a horse.
Sober now 3 years, 8 months. Mark, if you cook a meal and nice piece of steak, you cook it and you go and sit down in front of your television and you watch whatever your favorite show or something like that, and you bite into the steak, you're like, this steak tastes pretty well. Now, you invite 10 people over, you cook the same steak, and you see these people eat your steak. You tend to enjoy your steak more when you share with others. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So my sobriety, I've begun to enjoy it more since I've been sharing it with other people that is suffering like I once was. So I've dedicated my life to kind of be like the poster child, per se, to reach out to those that doesn't know that there's a different way out. And the last year, I've been doing a lot of outreach program. Through the interview that we did, I actually have helped a lot of people. Whether sometimes I even get on the phone with them, a conversation with them, inspire them to go to the next level and seek help, And I feel like I have a way of connecting with these individuals because they're able to identify with my story.
You've been through it.
I've been through it because, like I had mentioned in the last interview, I didn't know that there was another way. I didn't know which door to open. And once I opened that door and I came through on this side, I feel like I'm going back out to reach out to those that are in that place that I once was, in that low point. This year, I went to my country for the first time, Cape Verde, Africa. And that was the first trip I've made to Cape Verde, Africa without any drugs on me. I had never been to Cape Verde without either fentanyl or oxycodone with me. And they connected me through the interview I did, because it spread too in Cape Verde. A lot of people watched it. A good friend of mine, Suka, connected me with a guy, Gadalomba, and he does a lot of work out there with recovery, in the recovery world. And he set a whole itinerary for me. I went, I did the morning show. It was on national television out there. I did an interview on a podcast with Horaci, and I went out to prisons to go speak. it was quite interesting when I went to go speak at the prison, because after I had finished speaking, a guy stood up and said, "He's not lying. I've done cocaine with him."
That's great.
I went to go speak I didn't even know my country had a rehab. And I went and spoke there. That was where I connected the most with people, at the rehab, because they became like my family instantly. My schedule was so tight. I think I had like a 30-minute window that day, and I ended up pushing back my schedule another hour and a half, and I stayed there. And it was like, you're just connecting with people that are like you, people that is on that journey that I had started 3 years prior. And the connection was so strong, and the bond was so strong. It was just amazing to be able to connect with people in your own country. Because it's one thing for me to do this here in America. It's another when you're doing it in your native language. It hit different. It made me believe that I really have a purpose in life today. To be able to do it in English and in my native language, it hits different.
I think these problems are universal.
It's definitely universal.
I mean, they're all over the country, all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is, addiction doesn't discriminate. I've had people that because of their addiction, their low point was, my mother took my Mercedes-Benz and my mother took my Amex card. And then I've had clients that their low point was Skid Row, prostitution, stealing. And that was their low point. They identified with it. Even though the low point was different, the chaos was the same as a kid that the mom took the car to the person that ended up on Skid Row. You know, and it's quite interesting because I'm in a position today where I'm able to connect with all different type of people, and the low point is very different. The chaos ends up being the same.
Yeah.
You know.
But as far as like recovering, just for you personally, and I think for everybody who wants to stay on the right path, stay clean. What I've learned is, what I think, because I believe the whole story of all of these stories, all the self-destruction you see, the cure to that is believing deep down inside in your subconscious that you deserve better.
Of course.
And the way to build that self-worth, self-esteem is by doing what you're doing, by helping others. Well, because when you do that, how can you not see yourself as worthy of a better
life, better living? Yeah. The opposite of addiction, Mark, is connection. You know, and I've made a strong connection in the recovery community. I no longer feel alone. Where in the low point in my life, when I was strung out, sleeping on the mattress, I felt like I had no one. And today, because of all these connections, and life keeps lifing. Just because one stops a substance doesn't mean that life becomes peaches and cream. Because you got to remember, out there while we were using, we used these things to numb the pain and we're no longer feeling. Now you remove the substance, you have to deal with all the feelings and emotions. I feel just like any other person feels. The only thing that's different between me and the other person is I was accustomed to taking something to not feel. And today I can't do that. I can't take a substance to not feel. So I have to feel. But with time, it's like when we bring substance into our life, we disconnect from reality, right? And I heard a lot in early sobriety that sobriety is about rewiring of the brain. Today, just based on the choices and the way I move and the way I carry myself, I believe I'm a little bit further out in life in how my brain is rewired. The way I make decisions, the way I think, it's completely different than how I thought when I was 1 year sober versus almost 4 years sober today. And the biggest weapon we have as a person that's coming into sobriety is time. But the problem with us addicts is that we're so used to that instant gratification. If we wake up sick because we're opiate addict, we do a line of fentanyl, or we pop a Percocet 30, or we shoot some heroin, boom, it's gone. When I wake up from a long night of out having good time with friends and I'm stressed because I'm late, I can't take a pill to make that go away. I have to deal with that, you know? And It's interesting because I get to know myself all over again. And I'm liking this person. I'm really enjoying who I am today. I'm living my truth. No one can tell me anything about myself. I mean, not about myself, but more about the mistakes I've done, more than I can tell it. Because I have a bird's eye view of that person I was when I was mixing my life with substance. It's quite interesting when you look at it like that.
For real.
You know, I believe that God's given me a purpose in life. And my purpose is to tell those people that life gets better when we stop mixing us with the substance. The problem is, a person goes to college day one, goes to college, Yale, to be a doctor. Are you going to go 4 days later and trust that person to do surgery on you? You can't trust that person to do surgery on you. It's the same thing with sobriety. Just because you stop a substance 4 days in, you don't have it all figured out. I sure don't. Until today, I consulted my mentor about everything. Because once I go back to doing things my way, I'm going back to self-will. I'm living in self again. And when I do things my way, it always leads to destruction. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So is like religion a big part of your life, or is it just...
Religion is not a big part of my life. A relationship with God is.
They're different.
There's a complete difference. You know, I have a strong relationship with God, but I don't identify with any religion, if that makes sense. I don't go to church every Sunday, or I know there's people that their religion is every Wednesday or Friday or whatever it is. You know, I wake up in the morning, I brush my teeth, I meditate for 5 minutes. I might not even be doing it okay or the right way, but I do it. And then I read a little thing, like just for today or something like that. And I pray and I'm out the door. When I'm rushing, I don't do it, maybe midday, I'm like, something is wrong. It's like, I didn't meditate. But no religion, just a relationship.
Yeah, one of the main reasons I do these videos, I create this channel, I created this channel, is to hopefully put the idea or the concept that loving yourself is super important. And a parent can do that really well for a child. Mm-hmm. Seems like a lot of parents drop the ball on that. And a lot of people struggle with that and they suffer. And all the stories you see on my channel are the result of what happens when that was in place. But what's seems like even more powerful than when a parent instills that self-love in a kid is when somebody that goes through what you've gone through and learns how to do it themselves for themselves. Even though maybe you came from a rough childhood,
right?
You learn how to do it as an adult. It almost becomes like more genuine, or maybe deeper is a better word.
It does become more deeper because I did it for myself. The minute you do something for somebody else, or I've met clients that I'm here for my kid, that's great. But if you don't have yourself, your kid can't even have you. When I did recovery for myself, not to gain my ex-wife back, not to gain family's trust, but just because I got tired of being tired. So far, so good. I got no complaints, Mark. Like I said, life keep lifing. But because of recovery, I'm able to attack these life problems from a sober state of mind.
And your life is great now.
My life is great now.
You seem really happy.
I am. I'm at peace.
You were happy the first time I met you, though.
Yeah, I think I'm happier today because of more people I've helped. Because I don't only help people now that just struggles with addiction. I have people from Boston that were involved in the street life. And that's mental health. The trauma that stems from that is mental health. I don't have the resources to help these kids out, but I bring them out here. You know, there's resources everywhere in America. You know, whether it's through private insurance or government insurance, and these kids come out here for treatment. Those that don't struggle with substance, but they struggle with mental health. And I place them in a mental health dual diagnosed place. There's a lot of great places there. I'm connected with a few of them. One particular place that could stand out right now is Warner Park Recovery. They dual diagnose, and I place these kids through there, and they go through therapy. They process their trauma, and they're in sober living, and they take direction from me. And I have kids that couldn't go a day without leaving the house with a gun on them. Today, these kids are building, I've helped them build credit. They're living on their own.
That's important.
It's guidance, because a lot of these people have been misguided, or they was influenced towards the wrong things, you know? And today, these kids are influenced to doing the right things. These kids are believers again. They believe that they can make a life for themselves without that gang-infested type of situation, because they looked up to the dope boys like I once looked up to, and that's the route I went. I didn't start off with drugs. My first addiction was money. And these kids' addiction is the street life. And their ego gets in the way. And the retaliation, the back and forth with the different streets. And today they're able to walk in California without looking over their shoulder. And I enjoy it, to be able to see these kids believe again. And the mothers. The mothers are important to me, because it's almost like my living amends. It's my way of balancing the wrong I've done. And I connect with the mothers. When I go back to Boston, I go house to house and visit all the mothers that their kids are here under my watch. And you see the peace right away versus the first conversation I had with the moms. And they thank me, and they're very appreciative of where their kids is at today. Because a lot of these kids and parents didn't know where to go. They didn't know how their kids could get out of these situations. And I've made it my mission to let them know, like, there's a different door. But the first door is they the one that have the key. And the key to that first door is I need help.
Yeah, not everyone is ready for the help.
That's where the problem becomes.
There was a young man that you and I,
exactly,
and a very kind and generous man in Orlando, Florida.
I believe so, yes.
I won't name names, but
right.
Maybe I'll post this young man's video at the end here of this video. But the kid seemed really genuine, seemed like he really needed help, seemed like he deserved it, and seemed like he was ready. And this person from Orlando fell in love with this kid and wanted to help him, and flew out here and just offered him, basically rolled out the red carpet of everything he would need to get his life straight.
Yes, they did. And you and I was involved all the way.
Yeah.
We got the kid in detox.
Put him up in a room for a while until he got into detox.
They put him up in a room, and doesn't make me look at the kid any different.
No, he just wasn't ready.
He just wasn't ready. You know, he thought he was ready.
It was a shame.
It was, because that resource could have went to someone else that was ready.
Yeah.
You know, it breaks my heart, but doesn't make me look at anyone different, because I've been that kid that wasn't ready when family rolled out the red carpet.
You were that person, what?
I was.
Yeah.
Manipulate the situation, try to get as much as you can out of that situation with playing the victim. I've been that person. So I think that's why I'm able to connect with individuals so well, because I know when you are not ready, you're just not ready. Sometimes that's just an angle you have at the moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, what one of the best quotes I ever heard from somebody who worked in one of the recovery centers told me when I first started this project, he said, when an addict is ready, no one can stop them.
Exactly.
And when an addict's not ready, no one can make them.
Exactly. That's true. Because when I wasn't ready, no one can stop me. No one. I went to detox and I left. My ex-wife couldn't stop me with holding my marriage over our head. No one could stop me. When I was ready, I feel like I became unstoppable towards doing the right things.
Yeah, the people that I've seen actually make a serious change and stay clean to this day are ones who they didn't tell you they were going to do it. They didn't brag about it. They didn't tell you, "Oh, I'm going to do this." And they silently disappeared for a while, and then they come back and they look like you do now. Like, what happened? What's going on?
Yeah,
and it's because they just focused on what they needed to do to make their lives better.
I disconnected from my environment. I disconnected from unhealthy people. I disconnected from everything. My family didn't know I was in rehab until I had graduated sober living. My mom knew, but I told her not to tell anyone because I wasn't looking for no self-pity. My family rolled out the red carpets a few times for me, and I wanted to do it for me. And when I did it for me, well, this is the result. A man in peace. And that's worth more than any healthy bank account.
What advice would you give to families who have just lost patience with trying to help and being
You have to let that person go to reach their low. You can't continue enabling a person because sometimes I've met families like that and they just give and give because they don't know any better. To them, that's their form of helping. And they get manipulated by the person because us addicts, we're very smart people. We know how to manipulate. We know how to get people to think what we want them to think. We know how to get things out of them while playing the victim. And as a person that comes from a big family, I know how it goes. I did it. So tough love. Tough love. Just the meal. Sometimes if they have to hit homelessness and go through the rough situation to get back up, then that's what they have to do. But you giving the person money, you doing this, you doing that, it's not helping them. You're enabling them to continue going on that road. And while we're on family, my heart goes out to the family, especially the mothers, that their kid lost the battle with addiction. I get tons of messages and emails since I've done your channel from families that their kids are no longer here. My heart goes out to you because my mother could have been a mother that their kid would no longer be here because I've overdosed 3 or 4 times. And by the grace of God, I'm able to be here today.
What's going through an addict's mind when they're in that self-destructive?
Well, not much because we're just so numb. We're not feeling. We're just feeding the beast. You know, because like I became a slave to fentanyl. And I'm sure any addict, whatever substance they're using, they are a slave to that substance. So all they're doing is feeding that addiction. We're not really feeling. We're just numb. Just no feelings.
And across the board, you spiral downward.
Yes. Nothing comes great with that. I mean, I've had opportunity. No matter what I touch, I just screw it up. If that makes sense.
But you see hope in everyone.
I do. I see hope in everyone. My friend, I can mention his name, Wellington, I had spoken about him, that he was in the same rehab I had went through when I did the last interview. Today, he's 14 months sober. And he's in wholesale real estate. He just closed his first deal, I think 2 weeks ago. That's a kid that all he was doing in Boston was door dashing for $30. Once he makes his 30, he go buy a pressed fentanyl pill, does it, go back home. When the sickness kicking in, he repeats it all over again. And today, this guy have a job, and he's dibbling and dabbling in the real estate thing. Just closed his first deal. How can I not see hope in people when you have stories like that? I have an individual that I met. When I met him, we'll call him C. When I met C, he had took a beating because of his addiction. And he had a normal life. Hollywood, party scene, had a lot of friends, and he switched substance. He went into meth. When I met him, he was missing 4 of his teeth. Front teeth is gone. No self-esteem whatsoever. His head would be down a lot. You didn't see no personality. Little by little, you see C goes to the dentist, gets his teeth, and I ended up losing contact with him for a month, and then I ended up seeing him at another place that I facilitate at. And you see a personality comes up, and you see the self-esteem starts to build up. He had a lot of challenges through his recovery journey. Jobless, couldn't find a job, and he's a great pianist. He knows how to play the piano like a pro. And fast forward 10 months of sobriety and not giving up no matter what, dealing with the emotions, dealing with the feelings. He just moved into his own apartment, and he got a job playing the piano for a big nursing home, and they have a few. So he works like 6 days a week, makes good money, and he goes to different nursing homes playing piano. Of course I have hope for addicts. How can you not? When you see someone comes from nothing and starts to build it up block by block.
It's beautiful to watch.
It's amazing to watch. Back to that meal I spoke about. When you see people eat your meal, you enjoy it more. When I'm able to share my struggles with a person on their journey, I tend to enjoy what I have better. If I kept this a secret, I don't think I'll be this happy. I've made it my mission, Mark, to spread the word. And there's people that they started with because they was influenced by rap or whatever song. I'm not here to try to point fingers at some culture, rap music or whatever. But you know, rappers, they talk a lot about pills. And they started dibbling and dabbling in the pills. Next thing you know, now their body is dependent of these substances. And they don't know which way to go. Because of our last interview, I've gotten about 8 messages of people that just started dibbling that recreational, potty, doing here, doing there, pop a pill, and now their life is spiraling out of control. There is a way out. I got out. I started like that, recreational. I even had a bougie way of putting my addiction. I used to say, I'm what you call a doctor addict. Because my introduction to Percocet was because of a motorcycle accident. So I would say I'm what you call a doctor addict. Made it sound good.
You were prescribed at one point.
I was prescribed at one point. You know, I could sit here and point the fingers at Purdue Pharma or this or that. No, we know what the problem is. What is the solution?
Where do you think the drugs are coming from? Do you want to blame the U.S. government? Do you want to blame other countries?
I don't even have that conversation. Just for the simple fact is the war on drugs is something that's been going on for decades. And have we seen it get any better? We haven't.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse. One could say, well, the greed, the this, the that. Mark, I just want to focus on the solution. The problem's already there. And it's going to continue being there. And it's going to continue getting worse. But what is the solution? The solution is admitting that you want help. And if you want help, you can get help. I'm sure Mark will put my information again on this video. Mm-hmm. And you can reach out to me via email or via Instagram. And we could get you some help. But if we come sit here and point fingers, that's not going to do anything. Because I point fingers for a long time. I'm what you call a doctor addict. I said it with some swag, too. So it could make me feel like I was so different. My situation was so unique. Doctor prescribed me perks. Did they have knowledge or not? That's up to them and God. Right? I'm not here to play victim because I played victim for a long time. I came to the conclusion I had a problem. I knew that life is beautiful. I knew that there's great ways to live life outside of that, and I got help. And here I am today. You know? I always like to quote John He's a very wise individual. He said, if you've never been tested, you have no testimony. I've been tested because of my lifestyle that I once lived. And because of recovery, I have a testimony. You know, life is really pretty on the opposite side of addiction. You are not alone out there. You could definitely get what I have today by just asking for help. I'm going to end with that, Mark.
All right, pretty.
Love is love. Come on, somebody. Yalla, habibi.
Thank you, Freddie.